So it seems that we've got some fairly big Warhammer 40k release news. A new squad of Raptors for the Chaos Marines and Celestians for the Sisters of Battle. Let's talk about the leak, the clues that we have so far, and what it could mean in terms of the eventual kits that we get. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where today we're talking about an interesting leak from a Kill Team dossier, basically revealing the contents of two new squads coming for Warhammer 40k in the not too distant future. The Kill Team releases often tend to be pretty good news for wider Warhammer 40k. Their squads are quite a nice chance to take a unit in Warhammer 40k that needs an update, and then maybe put out a higher effort kit than they might normally do for those sort of things, usually with a big and slightly complicated frame, but having the positive side that they've got all sorts of different build options and some fun war gear choices. Basically, earlier in the day, there was a leak for a Kill Team manual. It looks like it's one of the Kill Team dossiers, talking through the rules for a couple of factions. Really quite clearly a genuine leak. Nothing suspicious to make it look like it's made up, and maybe implies that it's a follow-on one from the Tomb World one that we've got, as some of the background text I believe talks about them fighting in Xenos structures. I'm not sure if it's also going to be one set in the sort of underground Tomb World style setting, or maybe they'll have a battle zone on the surface as well. The leaks that were shared around the internet were these ones on the right. It looks really quite similar to the Hivestorm dossier that you can see on the left. Sections for two different new kill teams. We can see the logo for the Raptor one, and then a big picture of two of them on the right there. There aren't exactly an enormous amount of clues as to the exact kits and what they'll contain, but feels like you can have some pretty safe guesses just by knowing the units in question and what Games Workshop tend to do with their kill team releases. First up, let's focus on the Sisters. They certainly haven't done too badly out of the Kill Team release waves. They've had two Kill Team box sets, the Sisters Novitiate on the left, the ones that came out against the Pathfinders, and then more recently they've got the Sanctifiers one, sort of a priest-led warband, and they're also usable for the Imperial Agents. From the Kill Team setting though, I believe they roughly have a sort of 3-year main support cycle now, where they're going to be used in the more mainstream game, and then they have sort of legacy style rules. I believe the plan is to re-release the Novitiates with more sort of 40k style packaging. I had seen some leaked pictures in the past that implied that that will be the case. I was thinking it might be now, given that they'd been marked sold out online in a few places. It looks like they're back online though outside the USA, so not 100% sure what's happening with them. In any case though, it looks like the Sororitas are getting a third kill team, and that kill team are Celestians. Putting the words into a Spanish translator and it looks like they're called Celestian Infiltrators or something similar. And then the artwork that we can see of them, and the artwork that we have of them seems to be really quite similar to the Celestian Candelabra style shrine thing. Pretty much the same as the one on the Sacrosancts. It looks like the one pictured has a different sort of style of shield though, and seems that she's wielding a power sword as opposed to a mace or halberd. So probably indicative of at least one new model inside the squad, but it's not necessarily the entire squad loadout. I'm going to guess that the one pictured might either just be a single model, a leader, or a character miniature within the unit, as it just seems kind of unlikely if we've already got the Celestian Sacrosanct models, they'd do an entire other squad with shield and melee weapon. That just seems a bit redundant really. If they're going to add a unit to the Sisters range, it seems more likely to have them come back in their more standard bolter style incarnation, though I guess they certainly could do something different. If it's a kill team of normal sized humans, at least the majority of those tend to be in 10 model box sets, not 100% guaranteed, and we have seen ones that have got more mid-sized loadouts, say like the World Eaters Goremongers that go for their Holy 8. 10 does seem most likely to me though. In the past, Games Workshop's released a whole bunch of things that have had an upgrade sprue in a previous box set, though I think it's unlikely to happen this time round. So far since Hivestorm, in their new edition of Kill Team, literally every Kill Team that they've come out with has been entirely new miniatures, not just an upgrade sprue put into an existing kit, and I believe at some point in the past they said they weren't going to be doing upgrade sprue Kill Teams, and the new edition ones they'd have entirely new units, and that would imply an entirely new unit for the Sisters of Battle, or I guess in this case the return of the original Celestians that went away. For their previous rules, at least in terms of weaponry, the Celestians were at least fairly standard battle sisters, usually fighting with bolters and then a mix of special weapons, but often tending to have more veteran style profiles, either benefits with numbers of attacks or leadership, maybe a little bit wider access to war gear, or perhaps better shooting. They did have a bunch of incarnations over the years, though then they went away at the start of 10th edition, basically being a victim of there not being a box set with Celestians on the front of it. And I guess the idea was from there that they'd just be represented by regular battle sisters. It's certainly going to be interesting to see what they do with them. I'm sure plenty of people would welcome the return of the more standard loadout that sisters used to be able to field in the past. But whatever they go for, I suspect that they'll be fairly significantly different to the Sacrosancts. I'd guess for 40k they might just be fielded as Celestians, but if they really were Celestian Infiltrators, they might be another forward deployment style squad. Otherwise though, and I guess in the other half of the upcoming box will be the Chaos Raptors, and these ones don't really feel all that surprising for a choice to update for Kill Team. The models in the Chaos lineup, they're one of the ones that I feel people have talked about wanting a resculpt for, at least at some point. I've certainly set the precedent that they can do jump pack Kill Teams if they want to. That is the Winged Vespid in the launch of Hivestorm. They're models that hail from before the more modern updates for the Chaos Space Marine range, many of which started in sort of mid-8th edition and have happened over 9th as well. And the big picture of one is one that seems to be in Night Lord colours on the right here, I guess appropriate enough given their association with Raptors. And it looks like he's in broadly pretty similar style to them. It doesn't look like they're redoing the jump packs closer to the classic ones like the one on the bottom here. Otherwise seems that for war gear details he's got the sort of stabilisation fins on the side of the jump pack. On the example bits, they tended to be on the warp talons, though I guess no reason you couldn't put them on Raptors as well if you wanted. And for weaponry, it looks like he's got a fairly savage looking knife in one hand, could be the edge of a power sword I suppose. People have made quite a big deal about them being painted up in Night Lord's colours, but I strongly suspect they're probably just going to do generic Raptors, and Night Lords are just an appropriate colour scheme to have them in given their association, and maybe Night Lords being a bit associated with Kill Team isn't the worst thing either. It would just seem a little bit overkill to me to do a second very specific one and have these only represent Night Lord's Raptors. I guess not entirely impossible, but it doesn't really look like there's anything that's absolutely guarantees to be Night Lords in terms of parts here. For other images, we've also got the Kill Team symbol, all very appropriate for Wings of Chaos there, and another close-up of a guy with a rather sinister looking white painted helmet, all ready to jump out of the shadows on Wings of Fire no doubt. Otherwise, for questions for the kit, I'd hope that they might have a 10 model box set in this one. Feels like they could be appropriate enough for a 10 box with multi-build options, perhaps similar to the Death Watch. It looks like Space Marine Kill Teams are usable in 5s now, so I guess it's not quite as guaranteed. If they wanted to put 5 of these in the box set, I guess it wouldn't be unreasonable. I would wonder whether or not they'd have the dual build for Warp Talons still. We've certainly seen dual build options removed from the kit when they've redone them before. Say the update on the Deathwing Knights, which now only builds Deathwing Knights and not a Deathwing Command Squad. I guess it could be pretty bad news for some people's collections if they didn't have that option. I'd really hope that they might though. In game at the moment, Raptors are usable enough, 90 points for 5 of them or 170 per 10, generally used as cheap skirmish units that can deep strike and do some actions, and do have a little bit of threat between their special weapons and power fist. Usually they're associated with scaring the enemy and decreasing their leadership, which typically hasn't really been an advantage unfortunately. I'd say they're not completely unusable to use as a big 10-man squad with a lord leading them perhaps, or you could run them with Harkon World Claimer, but in general they're not really considered to be the best things that you want as mainline damage dealers. Small squads of 5 is how I've seen them in the vast majority of places. If they are having a Kill Team update kit though, it seems likely that they get a more complicated datasheet with more special weapon options. If they have any other fancy power weapons that they can throw into a unit, that could be quite a big deal for them for making them more of a mainline melee threat. In any case, pretty interesting stuff. For the release of them, they'll be in a big box first. I guess Raptors versus Celestians with a bit of terrain thrown in, and a dossier that we've seen the picture of. Depending on how many other things they put in there, like additional units, it's usually around about the £80 to £100 mark, or $140 to $170. If they're sticking to sort of quarterly releases for Kill Team, we've still got the Tomb World one to go. Maybe if that came out in August sometime, then this could be around about November-ish. Obviously hard to gauge that too much given that we haven't had any sort of official announcement yet. I suppose we're likely to see some models maybe sometime in one of the next 2 reveal shows. Let me know your thoughts and hopes for Raptors and Sisters though. What would you like to see in a redone Kill Team kit for each of these units? I look forward to hearing your takes down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics. I'll certainly keep the regular 40k videos coming with new ones out just about every day. If you'd like to support the channel and keep all the videos coming, Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page as well, and you can find that linked in the video description. Channel patrons do get a few advantages, seeing occasional videos early, some votes to see what sort of things come next, and automatic entry into the prize giveaways. Check that out if you'd like to take a look, but otherwise an enormous thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.